Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Prose podcast. I'm your host, Callie Shamus, and today I'm joined by author Katie Gergel to talk about the road to publication and lessons that writers can learn from marketing. Katie Gergel lives in Hoboken, New Jersey, and works as a senior marketing manager for Hearst Magazines in Manhattan. From writing books for her friends in elementary school to earning film and political science degrees at Penn State University, she's always been a storyteller at heart. When she's not forcing her characters into messy scenarios, Katie can be found hunting down the best spicy margarita, gobbling up the latest reality dating show, or planning elaborate themed parties that will force her friends to dress up or vote each other out, or both. You can find Katie online at Katie G. Writes. Let's talk about your recent book deal. What was your journey like getting here?
Yeah, well, like most writers, I'm sure I have been a writer my whole life. As soon as I could pick up a pencil, I was super passionate about creating my own stories and writing them down. And I definitely had support from my aunt from a really very early age. She is a creative writing professor and a published author herself. So she was definitely encouraging me and got me these blank bound books that she would say, put your stories in. And I think my love for that kind of grew from there and has just been evolving ever since. And so I've been writing my whole life, but then it was 2020 when the pandemic hit and I had just graduated from college and I wanted to do something to fill my days because I didn't have a job right after graduating and I wanted to feel productive. So I said, let's go back to our greatest love, which is writing, and try to get stories down and see if we can actually finish a book. Because at that point, I had never fully finished a novel. And so, fast forward from there, I have written 5 full manuscripts, and the 5th manuscript that I wrote is the manuscript that I just got my book deal for. So I'm very excited about that. It was a lesson in perseverance. It was not quick, not super easy, but it felt like hard work really paying off. So I signed a 2-book deal with Bantam Dell, which is an imprint of Penguin Random House. And that is for my survivor inspired, kind of Love Island, Parent Trap inspired rom com called Worth Playing For, which was definitely the most fun book I'd ever written. I always say it was the hardest book that I ever wrote, but also the most enjoyable. I did probably the most intense revisions I had ever done for this book, but I think it really, really paid off. And I can see that coming to fruition now with the book deal.
That's fantastic. So you had
Thanks.
mentioned that this was your 5th book. So was
Mhm.
this the manuscript that got you your agent, or was it one of those prior books?
Yes, this is the manuscript that I signed with my agent for. I had written the 4th book that I wrote, I had tried querying, so I had gone through the whole querying process with that one before, but book 5 is the one that I ultimately got my offer for, revised with my agent, and got my book deal for.
That's fantastic. Well,
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank
So
you.
you mentioned pretty intense revisions. So I'm guessing you had revisions with your agent as well as revisions with your editor, correct? So tell me a little bit about that. What did those revisions look like? How editorial is your agent? What was that process like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I haven't done edits with my editor yet. I am going to do those, so I'm anticipating a couple more rounds at least. Editing is never done in this industry. It's always editing. But I did a couple of rounds of self-editing with critique partners, and then my aunt that I mentioned, she had some edits, and so I did a couple of drafts before I started querying, and then I signed with my agent Aurora, and she is very editorial. I knew when I was querying that I really wanted to work with an editorial agent. I just think it would be nice to have someone to bounce ideas back and forth with, someone who had the eye for the industry already and had gone through the editing process with previous authors. And so that was one of the reasons that I ultimately decided to sign with Aurora is she had great editorial notes and she was very enthusiastic about how she wanted to edit with me and how she was an editorial agent. So we went through it was one big substantial developmental round of edits where she kind of sent me an edit letter that had kind of overarching like plot edits and character edits and scene changes, and we got on a call and we talked through those, and that took me, I can't remember how long, maybe about a month to get all of those bigger edits done. Sent that back to her, and then she read through and kind of did like a line level edit on track changes in Word. And so that was more of like a line level. We were cutting word count down because I had originally queried her with a 95,000 word manuscript. and we were aiming to get it around the 90K mark before going on submission.
Mhm.
So that was a lot of like, where can we even cut on a sentence level? If we can't cut out any big scenes at this point, like where can we condense things? Where can we take out extended metaphors and details that aren't necessary? So it was really just fine tuning it. And then I think there was maybe one more tiny, tiny little edit. So I don't know if it even counts as a third round, but we did definitely like due diligence and got it to the point of being like as tight as we could get it before sub.
Okay. So how long did that whole process take? When did you sign with Aurora and then when did you actually go on sub?
I signed with Aurora in late March, and then I went on sub in late June. So about 3 months
Hmm.
total.
That's wild. So you had a really quick turnaround. I feel compared to other
Yeah.
people in the industry, that's super fast, both for your edits and for being on sub.
Yeah, I felt very lucky. Aurora's super, she's quick with it. She gives a timing right off the bat and says this is when you can expect to get your edits, and she was always followed through to get it back at the time that I knew. So I was really able to schedule my life around when I knew I was going to get those edits back and kind of free up time for myself so that I could also complete them quickly. I think that was one of also the biggest things I was looking for when signing with her was like the transparency of when am I going to hear from you? When am I going to get these edits? How long might I go without hearing from you? Like I'm a very communication heavy person and love knowing like what I'm going to get when I'm going to get it, very type A.
Yeah.
So it was definitely helpful and I think that helped me also like keep myself in check and really kind of breeze through it as much as I could.
Yeah, no, I totally relate with that. I feel like I'm also very A-type and I want constant communication. But
Totally, totally.
I've heard some funny things specifically from agents giving writers advice saying, your agent, it has to be a professional relationship. Your agent isn't your friend. They shouldn't be someone that you're
Mhm.
friends with. They are working for you, essentially.
Right.
And
Right.
so, do you feel like that's very much like the professional relationship that you have with Aurora?
Yeah, I think our relationship is definitely professional, but what I love about it is it's kind of like a friendly professional. So
Mm.
we're not
Mhm.
I wouldn't call her like my friend, like we're not texting all the time, we're not calling all the time. It isn't like it's definitely we have a professional level. We communicate primarily over email. And we keep everything on that level. But at the same time, she's super accessible and friendly in the sense that I feel like I can go to her if I have very minor questions. I'm also the kind of person that's like, I don't want to bother you. I don't want to bother you. So I'm like, do I even ask this question? And very early on, she made it clear. She's like, any question that you have, just send it to me. Like, this is what I'm here for. I want you to feel comforted on this journey. And so, because of that, I totally trust in her professionality. We have that relationship, but she's also very accessible in the way that, like, we can go. I live near New York City and she works and lives in the city. So we can go and get drinks. And when we get drinks, we can both talk about our personal life and do that on a more friendly level, but keep it professional the same. We'll talk about the industry and talk about writing. And so I just feel like that's always kind of what I sought out too. I wanted someone that
Yeah.
was accessible, but not someone that, yeah, someone accessible, but not someone I had to like be nervous about sending any question that I had.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's actually advice that you gave me when I was trying to pick which agent to sign with. You had
Yeah,
mentioned that.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. So, how is being on sub, from preparing for the process, putting together the pitch and your editor list? Did you do that together? And then the actual process of going out on submission?
Yeah, so Aurora put together my list and she emailed that to me ahead of time so that I could kind of do a little research on my own and see who we were submitting to. But because we had worked so well together, like I fully trusted whoever she put on the list. And she has a lot of conversations with editors, so knew kind of who she wanted to send it to originally. I remember being on either the initial offering call or a call later. She was like, these are the people that I have in mind because they want so and so. And she already had those kind of connections made.
Mm.
But it was also very much a conversation. So I had some editors that I had seen on Publishers Marketplace or had just done research on, and I would send her an email and say, like, have you considered this person? Totally trust however you feel, but I saw this in their manuscript wish list, thought it might align, etc. And then actually the editor that I ended up signing with was someone that I had suggested because a friend of mine had met her at a conference and had talked to her about my book. And so Aurora
Oh,
made it very clear like, if you have any of these connections, no matter how small you might think they are, let me know and we can work with that and work that into our sub list. So I knew ahead of time that was the whole preparation. She sent me like the sub letter, so what they would be getting when she submitted to them. And then for the actual submission process, I was definitely incredibly lucky. I had a pretty quick sub experience. I think a big part of that was the fact that Wendy, my editor, was already aware of my book going into it. So I think maybe, I don't know how the process works internally, but maybe when it hit her inbox, she already had kind of recognized the story and my name. So I was on submission for about 2 weeks. It was from the day we submitted to the day of the offer, which again, I'm so grateful and lucky. Like I was prepared for the long haul. I was like, I've done the querying game. I have waited a lot. So yeah, I'm really, really grateful for that. And definitely like makes me think about how grateful I am for the community that I have and how people
Uh-huh.
really can help one another. And yeah, I mean, that was definitely, it showed a lot in my sub journey.
Yeah, that's amazing. Did you have a list, like a spreadsheet of the editors that Aurora was updating?
I did not. We had established from the jump that she would send a monthly update, kind of a
Okay.
roundup of responses.
And you didn't even get
Um,
that?
I didn't get my monthly roundup, which again, feeling very lucky, but I it was an interesting thought process because I am the kind of person that likes immediate validation. I was
Yeah.
thinking to myself, do I want one of those spreadsheets or do I want her to forward me rejections as soon as I get them? But at the same time, I think I was like, "You need to give yourself a little brain break." Like, it had
Yeah,
been a long time querying and a long time jumping at every email notification and
for
going in
sure.
my email and refreshing, and so I think both per Aurora's advice and per advice from other authors that had been on submission, I was like, "Okay, maybe I need to give myself a little favor and decide
Yeah.
not to do the instant updates."
For sure, for sure. And now so a little bit of time has passed, since you got your offer. So can you touch on what that period has looked like? Just kind of that break between the editor offer and announcing a deal.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm impatient. So it was a lot of waiting and a
Yeah.
lot of being able to excited about telling people, but not really being able to share too much. So that was
Yeah.
definitely like, okay, I'm ready to talk about it. But other than that, I signed a 2 book deal and I had discussed with Wendy, my editor, kind of like a brief outline of what book 2 would look like and kind of some elements that I could work on. So I got started working on book 2. Another kind of thing to like, everyone says the advice is keep your mind off of the waiting by working on something new. And even though I
Yeah,
had my book deal and I wasn't really waiting for anything too major, it was just nice to have something to dive back into drafting. So I'm working on that currently, waiting to get my edits. And in the meantime, I like staying productive. So I'm staying productive by working on book 2.
oh, that's awesome. Now, do you have any lessons that you would share from your very short time on submission? Well, anything really, even about getting agented, contract negotiation, anything that you've picked up along the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think definitely a lot of my lessons came from querying because, like I said, I had queried a book before I had queried Worth Playing
Mhm.
For. And that was my first time really diving into the industry and doing research and researching what it means to query and get an agent. And so that was like the biggest learning process for me, I think.
Mhm.
And one of the big, I have like so many pieces of advice I would tell my former self. It worked out in the end, but a couple of things I would say is like, definitely do your research. The first time that I queried, I was kind of like, oh, this is so exciting and fun. And these agents are open to my genre. I should definitely just send them a
Yeah.
query. And I like didn't
Yep.
do the research. And I definitely sent queries out to people I don't know if I would have been comfortable signing with. So
Yeah.
research, research, research. And then
Yeah,
also I have been trying to tell myself through every step of the way to not self reject. Like,
for sure.
I have no shame. I always say I have no shame. I will ask anyone questions. I will reach out to anyone. The worst that they can say is no or not respond. And I'm just like a big fan of shooting your shot. So when it came to agents that I was sending my stuff to, there were several agents that I was like, I don't know, this could be a long shot. I don't know if they super align with my work. But for whatever reason, I was like, just send it. Literally, the worst they can do is reject me.
For
And
sure.
I ultimately ended up getting my first offer from an agent that I sent to completely on a whim. It was like, if you had told me to rank who I thought I was going to get an offer from and who I wasn't, like this agent, I just didn't put up there because I didn't think their agency was particularly looking for what I was querying or her. I don't know what it was. But I think that was a big lesson where it's just like, don't count yourself out. You
Yeah,
are your biggest advocate, and I've been really trying to keep that in.
for sure. Completely agree. So, I want to get a little bit more in depth into your background, your career, what you do for work, because I find it so
Yeah.
fascinating. So, you're in marketing, you're a senior marketing
Yes.
manager. What
Yes.
what do you do on a day-to-day?
Oh my goodness. So it's actually very data heavy. It's very different side of my brain than I use for writing. I work in paid search marketing. So it's basically, I work for a big media company that has a lot of different brands, and I work with a couple of brands specifically that churn out a lot of content about anything under the sun. If you were to Google how to clean a dishwasher, that is the most random example. But if you were to Google that, we are bidding on placements in Google and we are trying to get you
Uh,
to our page. And so a lot of it is just managing a ton of campaigns, working towards specific KPIs, doing a lot of Excel work. And yeah, I think what I like about my job is that it is so different from writing and it is using such a different part of my brain.
uh-huh.
Because I think if I was in a super, super creative job, I might not have that creative juice to use for my writing when I like log off of the 9 to 5. So it's been a good balance for me.
Yeah, and has anything in your job kind of helped you in terms of the writing side? Has anything from marketing translated even to how you present yourself, how you pitch your work?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think there's a lot of like transferable, like soft skills almost that I've taken with me. Um, Honestly, the shooting your shot uh, advice kind of comes from my work because I feel like we are sort of a shoot your shot method when it comes to setting up campaigns and trying different
Okay.
things because we're like, who knows if this method is going to work or if this strategy is going to work, but we're trying to constantly evolve. So we're like, let's just try it. And if it doesn't
Yeah.
work, that's fine. If it does, then maybe we found a new source of income. I don't know. Maybe it's a new strategy that we can take advantage of. So I think it's very just like this open mindedness mindset that I've tried to take with me as well.
Mm.
Um, and also just kind of like maintaining professionalism in my own life, I think, like having a corporate 9 to 5 where I'm talking to different people in the company and need to uphold like an image of the company. I'm kind of translating that into working on my books in like the social media sense of it all. Like I am trying to like translate that professional mindset to the business of writing, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, it totally does, and I think that, there's a lot floating around about your brand as an author and marketing yourself as a writer. So
Totally.
what strategies have you embraced for that in terms of social media and putting your brand out there?
Yeah, I was always kind of wary of posting on social media as an author. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was a little bit of imposter syndrome, especially before like getting an agent and getting my deal, kind of thinking like, what do I have to share? Like, what are people going to benefit from seeing my videos as like an unagented author in the trenches?
Yeah,
But I think there was one night that's like a flip just switched. It was a couple of months ago. And I was like, really, what do you have to lose? Like, why
yeah,
don't you just start posting on social media? I have always enjoyed watching people's journeys at whatever point they were at. I've loved
yeah.
seeing people draft. I've loved seeing people traditional publish, self publish. Like, I just find it so fascinating to see the different journeys that people take. And I've always loved consuming that on social media. So this one night I was like, why don't you just post? Even if like no one sees it and it's just for you, you'll have a little bit like of an inventory of posts that you can look back on, and it can be kind of like an archive and fun for the future. So there was one night that I posted on TikTok and I just posted a video, one of those classic, like speaking as if I was the main character in my book, like, you'll never believe what happened to me. I went on this reality show and it was just so fun. But it was just like really fun. And then I posted it, and I don't know, the TikTok algorithm was like, oh, ding, 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 she's posting. Let's send it to every single person in her contacts. And I had all these people just like commenting on my video that I had not spoken to in years. And it was so sweet. I was at
Yeah.
first like, oh no, do I want to be perceived like this? But everyone
Yeah.
was so nice. And it was people like, oh my gosh, Katie, like, so good to see you're doing well. I'm excited for you. Like, just
Aw.
showing the support. And so I think maybe that was like the light switch that flipped on. And so I've been pretty consistently posting on TikTok since, which has been both fun for me, and also I do have
Yeah.
kind of like a paper trail pointing towards
Yeah.
different parts of my journey that I love looking back on.
That's wonderful. So, your book is about reality TV. You work in the entertainment industry. Can you tell me a little bit about writing for that sphere, like writing in entertainment and reality TV?
Totally. It is 100% self-indulgent. I love entertainment, I love reality TV, I love writing what I love. Um, but yeah, so I was a film major in college. I was a film and
Okay.
political science double major, but I had always loved writing, screenwriting, storytelling, and communications. And so I was in the School of Communications at Penn State, was a film major, and I knew when I came out of college that I wanted to work in media in some way. I think I was
Mhm.
much leaning towards like the business side of entertainment, the business side of media, and that's like a very big umbrella. So you can get a lot of different jobs. It can be like marketing, PR, comms, creative marketing, just so many different things. But I found myself throughout college and after getting all of these different internships and jobs in the entertainment industry. I had an internship with Disney Channel, which was very interesting, and with like Discovery, and I worked for TLC Network. Like, I just have been consuming media in all possible ways, both professionally and personally. And so, because I'm just a lover of entertainment, reality TV, anything like that, I was like, let's write a book about it. I had never written a
Yeah.
book in this realm before. It was the second contemporary novel that I had written of the 5 books. I had been in, like, very different genres previously, um, and I love the show Survivor, if that's not abundantly clear by all the times I've posted about it, and so I was like, "Why don't we take the show that I love and turn it into, like, a rom-com? Like, how can we twist it and make it the most fun rom-com possible?" And this idea just hit me one day to do this, like, twin switch, Survivor-inspired reality TV book, and the way that it just kind of flowed was very much an indication to me that I was where I was supposed to be at the time. Like, I was writing
Yeah.
what I love, and I think when you write what you love, it comes out a lot easier than when you're writing what you're forcing yourself to write.
Oh, 100%, definitely. So, what are some of the other genres that you wrote? What were your earlier books like?
Oh my gosh, definitely a mood writer. So the story would come to me first over the genre. The first book that I wrote was like a sci-fi fantasy, grounded fantasy. I still don't know how to define it. It was like the book that I had been half trying to write my entire life. I was like, let's just do it. It was great. It was fun to finish it, and I'm happy that I finished it. Like, not a good book. It shouldn't see the light of day, but it was fun. And then I wrote a like speculative one, and oh my gosh, I wrote a zombie dystopian. I
Oh,
love zombies.
wow.
So I was like, let's just do it. Let's feed our soul and write it this zombie book. And then we went to romance. We pivoted hard
Yeah.
after the zombie book and we went to romance.
Well, we could always do, like, a zombie romance mix for your next one.
Ooh. Oh, you got me thinking.
What are your plans for your next books?
So I have book 2 as a part of the contract for my book deal, and I know that story. That is another contemporary rom-com, also, like, entertainment adjacent, like, it has a lot of, like, TV entertainment elements. And then down the line, I don't know, I definitely think there's value in establishing your brand as an author and being like, "You know me as the girl that writes contemporary rom-coms." And so I feel like I can see myself staying in that realm for a bit, but I also don't know. Every day I am getting a new idea. Not every day, that would be nice. I'm getting a lot of new ideas and writing them down in my notes app. Like, I was on the subway the other day and I was, as true writers do, overhearing a conversation and listening very intently. And it gave me like an idea for just a fun, completely harebrained rom com. So I just jotted it down in my notes app. Who knows it'll ever see the light of day. But yeah, it's fun to think about the
Yeah.
possibilities. I'm not sure where we'll go.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, the possibilities are endless, and that's what I love. I think that that really shows you that you've landed in the right place. Like, I remember I'm working on my PhD right now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh
So
my gosh, that's
cool.
right. It's something.
I'm very impressed.
Thank you. But I was having a conversation with another one of my fellow PhDs. And so this other PhD was telling me how, I'll be brushing my teeth and I'll have a research idea. Or I'll be
Oh
like
my
making
gosh.
lunch and I'll just have an idea for what I want. And that never happened to me. I never had ideas for
Really?
research. But now with writing, that happens to me. I'll be
Oh
sitting
my
there and I'll think,
gosh, no way.
and it's wild, it doesn't even matter what genre I'm writing in. Like my first book was a romantasy. This one now is a horror kind of gothic fantasy mix.
Oh, very cool.
The ideas just come, and I think that that's a
They just come.
sign that you're in the right industry.
I think that's such a good point because it's like this is where my brain is going when I'm not actively like it's just where my latent thoughts are going. I feel like that is such a
Exactly.
sign. That's so cool.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so fun. Well, Katie, thank you so much for being here today. This was so wonderful.
Oh my gosh, I love chatting. Thank you for having me on here.
And thank you all so much for tuning in to the Pros podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and remember to check back next Tuesday for a new episode.